Well, it's a significant time for the department that brings you this programme and has done for the last 31 years. Don't worry, the programme isn't going anywhere, but it is the final day at the helm for our editor, Martin Webber. We thought it would be a good opportunity to have a little look back at some of the big stories and the changes that we've witnessed through the decades, and I'll let Martin himself talk us through it.
Yes, it's been a great privilege to be in charge of the World Service Business Agenda for more than 30 years. Over the decades, we've expanded massively the airtime devoted to business programmes, and we've chronicled amazing changes. So in the next 10 minutes, you'll hear my choice selection from the archives. First is a moment of history which I myself was lucky enough to cover for the BBC. Back in July 1990, the Soviet Union was collapsing and democratic freedoms were spreading across Europe. The East German Ostmark was about to be scrapped. I headed to East Berlin to find that model railway enthusiasts and CB radio fans were rejoicing.
East Berliners spent the whole night celebrating the end of the Ostmark. Fireworks were let off all round the city. One bank was open in the city centre at midnight and was mobbed by hundreds of people eager for their first Deutschmarks. By first light, vast queues were already forming outside the banks. East Germans had varying plans for their new hard currency.
I spend my money for things to live, for products, for food, nothing more. I don't have too much money.
I want to buy a CB radio.
For my hobby. I am a model railway, and there are many wishes to buy some new locomotives.
For most East Germans, the day was effectively the end of the GDR. As well as a single currency, all remaining internal border controls have now been removed. East Germany's Finance Minister Walter Romberg.
This is a day of historic dimension. Changing the currency in this country means a wide step towards reunification of this country, and we only hope that this will also help to a reunification of Europe as a whole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1000.
As the banks counted out East Germans' new Deutschmarks, the shops were busy stocking up their shelves with the new Western products. There have been fears of an enormous spending spree which would push up German inflation, but Norbert Walter, chief economist of Deutsche Bank, has no such concerns.
I believe people will be happy to finally have convertible currency in their hands, and they will spend at least for a few days. However, East Germans are Germans by their very nature, and they will save a lot of it. And under the specific circumstances, I believe, with the uncertainty prevailing, the risk of high unemployment, for example, I believe the savings rate will be quite considerable.
East Germans' fears that the rush to the free market will lead to unemployment and price rises are real and growing. But for today, Berliners had another step on the road to normality to celebrate. Here in East Berlin's Alexanderplatz underground station, trains have been passing through without stopping from West Berlin ever since the wall went up. In the next few moments, the first train to stop for 29 years will be arriving. The train has arrived, and on it is the mayor of West Berlin, Walter Momper.
It's a wonderful day. You see, it's the practical reunification of Berlin with the wall down, with the borders open, and with no control, no passport control at the borders, and the underground stations open again. It's a wonderful day.
For one ordinary Berliner, seeing the train again was an emotional moment.
I think it's a funny feeling to stand on this platform again. This is the biggest underground and suburban railway station in Berlin, and I think it's absolutely marvelous to have it open again.
For me, that reporting trip demonstrated that the World Service schedule needed to devote more hours to business issues and the voices of ordinary people affected by global economic trends. It led to the launch of World Business Report. 12 years after German currency union, money was again the big story. The first euro notes and coins were handed out in January 2002, and we sent reporter Manuela Saragossa to Rome.
Well, there have been lots of queues at railway stations, post offices, banks and motorways. Tempers have been frayed, people have been getting angry. Lots of shops are still only displaying prices in lira, and, for example, many taxis haven't yet adapted their meters to the euro. I'll just give you an example. When I bought an espresso at a bar this morning, the bartender had to stack the various denominations of the coins in neat piles and work out which one was which. So a transaction that should have taken 30 seconds took 3 or 4 minutes. And really the root of the problem here is that Italians are grappling with decimalisation, and so transactions are taking longer to carry out. And as a result, some traders and people are finding it just much easier to continue paying in lira for the time being. But it's not all doom and gloom here. It was a bright day of sunshine here in Rome today, and I went along to the famous Trevi fountain and found people there were still continuing their centuries-old tradition of throwing coins into the water there, and now they're throwing euros as well as lira. Did you throw euro or lira?
Lira.
Why lira?
Because I haven't euro.
But you can go to any bank or post office, you can change there.
Much people.
Too many people. So are you going to throw in yen or euro or lira? What is that?
Japanese yen.
Not euro.
Not euro.
Manuela Saragossa. The rise of China to become the world's second biggest economy has been the single most important shift in the past 30 years. Hundreds of millions of people there have been lifted out of poverty. But the big statistics always hide the individual experiences. Our reporter Rob Young was in China in 2014. By chance, he came across one small village standing in the way of China's industrial expansion.
I'm standing on the water's edge at the village of Tangtou. It's dominated by two things: the Bojisu temple on the hillside above and the textile dyeing factory on the other side of the river. Whereas the temple has been a good neighbour for more than 1,000 years, villagers say the decade-old factory certainly hasn't.
The pollution here is very serious. There may be some pollution in the soil, but what can we do? When we complain about this, who will listen to us? We are being asked to move because of the air pollution, and they also want to expand the river.
What do you think of that? Do you want to move?
There are no other choices, because if I keep living here while the rest of the village moves out, I'll be in trouble. If I don't move, I probably won't get any compensation for my house being knocked down.
The continent we broadcast from live most often, though, was Africa. It has led the world in much mobile banking technology, but traditional sectors like mining continue to play a crucial role in creating wealth and jobs. In 2014, our reporter Lucy Burton went underground.
Good evening from Zambia, a country most famous for the Victoria Falls, an amazing safari. But it's also a nation rich in minerals. Vast swathes of the north of the country have been mined for copper ore ever since the British arrived in the 20th century. The oldest and soon-to-be largest mine in the copper belt is Mopani, named after the native tree. It's owned by the Swiss company Glencore Xstrata, and it's the size of a small town. And I was giving a tour of the place to see how it works.
My name is Derek Chela. I'm the mine manager. The area where we are right now, we are preparing the area for the new shaft, and we have finished boring that first stage. As we are standing here, we are lowering the reamer.
Sounds like a kind of creaking beast that's living in the next door tunnel, doesn't it?
For us miners, this is quite an exciting moment.
Why?
Because it shows that the mine is going to go further beyond the 5 years that the current infrastructure can provide.
Do you think you'll still be here in 25 years?
I don't think so.
You're going to have a happy retirement above ground.
But I think by then I'll be a farmer somewhere else.
What an evocative sound of drilling underground in Zambia. From Monday, a new management and production team at the large BBC radio operation in Salford will take up the reins. We wish them all the best for the years to come.